Good morning and welcome to lesson 18. So hopefully you have lesson 18 ready to go. Lesson 18 has a sprint and also a practice page. It is a 2-day lesson again. We're going to be talking about day 1. A strong reminder that you need to watch the Eureka video because we are going to be doing an extension of what we did during the first half of this module as we move into the second half. When you do the word problem after you've watched the video, I am going to remind you to use cubes and read, draw, and write. But I'm also going to tell you that she doesn't, Mrs. Chin does not really talk too much about what you need to do on the word problem, but I will tell you that if you'll use the chip model that we have been using for addition, it will help you with this problem. So you need to set it up the way we have with the tape model and do cubes, of course, but if you'll use the chip model that we've been using, it will be really easy for you to discover which of these two girls has the correct answer. So you're going to be doing that. You're also going to be, as you work the exercises that you have for today, you'll be doing problems 1 through E, and your exit ticket will be letter or number 2, and you will need to make sure that you pay a very close attention to that when you send it to us. And as Mrs. Chin pointed out, you will need to have your place value chart and your place value discs. You will be using your place value discs and your place value chart throughout the first few lessons that we're going to be doing now that we've gone through halfway through module 4. So have all of those materials ready, and it will make what you're going to do today much easier. Now I want to go back to the sprint for just a minute. I'd like to change up just a little bit how we've been doing the sprints. That just does not want to focus in well today. There, that's a little bit better. So I'd like to change just a little bit about how we've been doing the sprints. Normally we do a 1-minute timing, but these last few sprints that we have done have been very critical to your student better understanding how to be able to compose a 10. And this one in particular is really excellent for helping kids to be able to see what they have to do if they can make a 10 and how that affects the tens place. So composing a 10, the first few are fairly easy, but I'm looking at problem number 10 just for example. 49 plus 2, if you can think that you can compose a 10 because 9 ones plus 2 ones is 11 ones, so you've got 1 10 and 1 1. That would make this 50 with 1 left over, which would be 51. This particular exercise is very good at helping kids to be able to mentally compose that 10 for quick addition with a double digit and a single digit. So I would strongly encourage you to give this to your student and let them work both sides without timing them. Let them work both the A side and the B side without timing them. If it's taking them more than, say, between 8 and 10 minutes to do both sides, I would probably cut it off at about 10 minutes. But these exercises, I feel, are so good at helping our kids to establish that mental math application of what we've been doing so far in the first half of Module 4. So let's not time this for a minute. Let's have you work for at least, I would say, 10. Let's try 10. If they're starting to get really tired and it's weighing them down, maybe cut it down to about 8. And I will be correcting that with you in a few minutes so you can see their work. And then, of course, I'd like you to do what I talked about before, which is to try the word problem, of course, after you have watched the video. And then you're going to be doing the first one, A through D. And you are going to be using your place value discs when you do this. I'll just give you a quick example. That first problem is 80 plus 30. So you can see that on my place value chart, I have composed, or not composed, but I have set up both addends. Oops, that one's kind of backwards. I've set up both addends. Here's my 80. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, set up with my row of 5 so that I can easily see what this is. 5 plus 3 gives me 8 or 80. And then I also have, I need to show you this problem. It is this first one right here where we have 80 and 30. It's a little hard for me to show all of that. There we go. 80 and 30. So I have this in my tens place value because I don't have any ones, which you're going to be using ones in a few minutes, but I don't have any ones. And what you're going to do is apply what you learned using the chip model to now using this on your place value board. I want you to think about composing the next highest unit. And I can easily do that by moving these around. I haven't changed the value, but what I now have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 tens, which has the same value as we did before. We can exchange those 10 tens. We did it in the ones, but now we're going to start doing it in the tens. We're going to take those 10 tens off and exchange those 10 tens for a now 100. So I now have 110 more left. So that would give me 110. So you're wanting to be thinking about using your place value chart so that it's easy for your student. I don't want them to be doing the vertical model on these. They need to be manipulating everything using their place value chart and their place value discs. So that's why I gave you an example of that first one. And if you don't know where your place value discs are, or you don't have your place value chart, you're going to have to make another one, because over the course of the next few lessons we will continue to use those. So go ahead and also when they're doing their exit ticket, they should also be doing it on the place value chart. So when they're doing 47 plus 123, have them do it on their place value chart so they can accurately answer these questions. I changed 10 ones for 110. If that happened, they need to circle it. I changed 10 tens for 100. If they did this in this process, then they need to circle it. So we're not necessarily looking for what the solution to this is, but rather what steps did they take in order to be able to solve what the end result would be. So go ahead and get those two things done and send that to your teacher, and I'll be back with you in a few minutes and we will talk about the solutions to these problems. So pause the video. Well, if you haven't watched the Eureka video, you need to do that and then solve these problems and then come back and I will go over the answers with you. All right, pause the video. Okay, are you back? All right, here's the sprint. Remember, I asked you to do it for probably at least 8 to 10 minutes. So you can pause the video and check your students' work to see how they did on side A, and if they're making mistakes, take a minute and talk to them about composing that 10 so that it's easier to do this math in your head. That's the purpose of the sprints, is to be able to do these quickly in your head using the methods that we've been teaching since the beginning of the school year. So pause the video for side A. And now I'm going to turn it over to side B so you can check your students' answers. And if they didn't get it all the way completed in that 10-minute period, I would strongly suggest that after you are finished with everything else, they go back and do this again. These are really critically important to your student doing well on mental math application of the strategies that we've been teaching this year. So there's that. All right, so now let's go ahead and we will take a look at the word problem that you needed to solve. Let's see if I can get this so it's in a good position. So we have Haley and Joy, and they are trying to solve 56 plus 85. Joy says that the answer is 131. Haley says that the answer is 142. You have to explain who is correct using numbers and pictures and words. So I started, hopefully you started off with your tape model. which would be a part and a part, which is 56 is a part and 85 is a part, and we are trying to come up with the whole. So that was what we were trying to figure out. So if you did this, as I encouraged you, you need to set this up in a vertical form and then create your chip model for addition. Remember, when you're doing addition with the chip model, you have to show both add-ins. So here's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 for the 5 10s, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the 6 ones. So 5 10s and 6 ones is the first add-in. Second add-in is 85. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, plus another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. Remember, when you're adding, you're always looking as to whether or not you can compose a 10. Okay, so let's look and see if we can compose a 10. So we have, so we're looking to see whether or not we can compose a 10, which we're going to try and do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm putting a circle around those 10 ones, and I'm taking it down below to show that I'm taking these ones and composing a new 10. Now that tells me when I get finished that I have 1 1 left. Remember, when I compose a 10, I need to make sure that it comes over into my 10's place. In fact, you know what? I'm going to move that over just a tiny bit to get that into the 10's place. So once I've composed that 10, it's coming over into the 10's place. Now, this is a step that we haven't done before. Is it now possible, my friends, that I could compose a 100? I know she didn't talk about this on the video, but if you apply what you already know about composing a 10, being able to compose a 100 is not that much more difficult. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So I'm going to compose now 10 10s. And just like I did over here, I'm going to bring it down and put 100 in my hundreds place, which means I'm also going to have to come over and put 100 in my hundreds place, so that when I'm adding things, I'm going to be accurate with getting everything where it needs to go. So I've composed a 10 and put it down below, put it in my vertical form. I've composed 100, put it down below, which there was no hundreds to begin with, and also put it into my vertical form. So I know that once I've composed that 10, or composed that 100 and changed it for a 100 value disk, that leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4 10s, which I have included. So 5 10s and 8 10s plus another 10 really gives me 14 10s. 14 10s, which is what I show here, but because I have composed another 10 10s to make 100, now I have 100 in my hundreds place value, which says now I have 1 100. So that 1 100 plus 0 100s is giving me 100. You can see from you applying what you knew from your value or from the chip model and addition, taking it over and composing 100 is not that much more difficult. So I know that Haley is correct because she remembered to compose a 10. And I forgot to write this part in. She also composed 100. Joy is not correct because she did not compose her 10 or her 100. And she forgot to add that one in, which gave her 131 without that composed 10. She did compose her 100. Wait a sec, I'm taking that out because she did. She just forgot to take care of that composed 10. All right, so that makes a little bit more sense. Alrighty, so hopefully you did really well on that word problem, and we'll probably see more of this kind of problem in the future as we move into the second half of this section. Okay, so as I pointed out earlier in the video, we had 110 for our answer for letter A. using the place value chart. You're not going to be doing the vertical model, you're just going to be doing the place value chart. Man, I hope I said that right when I was talking earlier. Anyway, so then on your place value chart, you should have shown 73 and 38. Let's look at that one really quickly. So I want to go over that to make sure you saw what was happening. So I am going to show 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 71, 72, 73. There we go. So there's 73. And now I'm going to compose, or not compose, but I'm going to represent my second add-in, which was 38, 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30, and 8 ones. 31, 32, 33, let me move that over, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38. All right, so I'm looking at my two add-ins, 73 and 38, as we see here, 73 and 38. The first thing I want to decide is, can I compose a 10? Well, if I move these guys down here, I can very quickly see that I do have a 10. So I'm going to take that 10 and I am going to exchange that for a 10, a value disk of 10. Here I go. I'm going to exchange that value disk. Here we go, for these 10 ones for another 10 down below. All right, so I have 1 left in my ones chart, or my ones place value, which I now have placed here. And now I want to see if I can compose 100. Well, I've got a good start up here. I'm going to move these 3 up here, which now gives me a group of 100. So I can compose 100 by exchanging these 10 10s. Here we go. I'm not going to work all the problems, but I will work this one. Just in case you were having a little bit of confusion, I am going to exchange those 10 for 100. And when I look at what I have left, I have 100, which is right there, 110, which is right there, and 1 for 111. All right, so the rest of those you should have done in that fashion and come up with these particular answers: 121, 190, 191, 130, 122, 141, 132, and 200. Now, same thing. Oh dear, I am not being very helpful here. I am showing you the answers to the exit ticket. Don't do that, Miss Star. So you need to complete the exit ticket doing the same thing that you did, and then you need to send that to your teacher. All right, so that will take care of the lesson for today. You're going to do these exactly the same way you did these up here and decide which of those steps you took as you were doing those problems. All right, and with that, you have a great day of learning.